Appreciation, an essential subject from Vinipedia that is the sign of devotee. Appreciation of the activities of other devotees. This appreciation means a devotee who is actually freed from all contamination. He does not find any fault with other devotees. That is the sign. He does not think himself that he is bigger devotee or greater devotee than others. He thinks himself as the lowest of all. K always appreciates when his devotee makes some sacrifice on his behalf, so there is no real difficulty under any condition so long as we remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Simply appreciation of the greatness of God, that is good, in God consciousness, but that is not love. When one is actually spiritually advanced, he has no such appreciation. Just like Lord Jesus Christ, he was crucified, but he never protested because he had no bodily consciousness at all. So when one is spiritually advanced, there is no bodily consciousness. Srila Prabhupada's books, lectures, conversations and letters offer a comprehensive presentation of this essential subject as seen in the Vinicote's appreciation category. An introduction from his books is given below in the following 16 quotes. Quotes from Srila Prabhupada's books. If those who are attached to demigod worship fortunately associate with the devotees, their dormant devotional service and appreciation of the Lord's qualities gradually awaken. In this way they also engage in chaos devotional service and give up the desire for liberation and the desire to merge into the existence of impersonal Brahman. Kaitanya Ta, Madhya LL 24.124. Topics like the Arsa LL are meant for the liberated souls and not for the conditioned souls. The conditioned souls, therefore, must hear with appreciation and devotion the Lord's pastimes in relationship with the external energy, and such acts are as good as the hearing of Arsa LL in the liberated stage. A conditioned soul should not imitate the activities of liberated souls. Lord R. Chaitanya never indulged in hearing the Arsa LLA with ordinary men. R. Mad Bh Gavatam 2.7. 53. Dharasa is a very grand idea for materialistic philosophers, but such idealistic appreciation is only the beginning. It is the lowest among the relationships in the spiritual world. Dharasa is not given much importance because as soon as there is a slight understanding between the knower and the known, active loving transcendental reciprocations and exchanges begin. Kaitanya Ta, DLL 3.11. Forms which are invisible can be understood only by touch. That is the independent appreciation of invisible form. Visible forms are understood by analytical study of their constitution. R. Mad Bh Gavatam 3.26. 39. The light of the sun and moon and electricity is also relative. They are called illuminating only because we see them as such. But dependence and relativity do not exist in Ka. His activities are not dependent on anyone else's appreciation, nor does he depend on anyone else's help. Kaya Book, Chapter 70. The Dharati realization of Kaya is in the neutral stage between the conception of impersonalism and personalism. This means that one is not very strongly attached to the personal feature of the Lord. An appreciation of the greatness of the Lord is called Dharati. This is attachment not to the personal feature but to the impersonal feature. Generally, one in this stage is attached to the Paramtm feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kaitanya Ta, Madhya LL 19.183-184. The appearance of Lord Chaitanya is both significant and confidential. He can be appreciated only by pure devotees and only through the process of devotional service. The Lord tried to conceal his identity as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by representing himself as a devotee, but his pure devotees could recognize him by his special features. The Vedas and Puras foretell the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, but still he is sometimes called, significantly, the concealed descent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chaitanya Ta, DLL 3 Summary. A pure devotee, whose mind is always engaged in the service of the Lord, can certainly appreciate the impermanence of this material world. Although such a devotee may be engaged in executing material activities, this stage is called Ansakti. R. Mad Bh Gavatam 4.30. 23. RLAS Tagasvam affirms in the Bh Gavatam that although he was observed by the citizens of Dvirak every day, they were ever increasingly anxious to see him again and again. The living beings can appreciate the qualities of the Lord as the ultimate goal, but they cannot attain the status quo of such equality. This material world is a product of the Mahatattva, which is a state of the Lord's dreaming condition in his yoga night or mystic slumber in the causal ocean, and yet the whole creation appears to be a factual presentation of his creation. R. Mad Bh Gavatam 1.16. 2630. The causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is first appreciated when one comes in touch with a bona fide spiritual master, who can enlighten the conditioned soul and bring him to the highest position of devotional life. Therefore Lord Chaitanya said that by the mercy of the spiritual master one can achieve the causeless mercy of the Lord, and by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead one can attain the mercy of the bona fide spiritual master. Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Chapter 1. In the rays of the moon, different material entities appear to be comparatively more or less important. The light of the moon on the Taj Mahal appears to be more beautiful than the same light in the wilderness. Although the light of the moon is the same everywhere, due to being differently appreciated it appears different. Similarly, the light of the Lord is equally distributed everywhere, but due to being differently received, it appears to be different. Armad Bh Gavatam 3.7. 11. The attractive features of a woman are appreciated by those who are affected by lusty desires, but those who are above such desires, who are on the platform of Kaya consciousness, are very difficult to bewilder. Nonetheless, by the supreme desire of the personality of Godhead, everything can be done. This was to be a test of whether Lord Eva could remain unagitated. Armad Bh Gavatam 8.12. 16. In the second stage, which is called Dsyarati, a person appreciates his position as being everlastingly subordinate to the Supreme Lord, and he understands that he is eternally dependent on the causeless mercy of the Supreme Person. At that time there is an awakening of natural affection, such as is felt by a son who grows up and begins to appreciate his father's benedictions. At this stage the living entity wants to serve the Supreme Lord instead of serving illusion. Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Chapter 1. RLAR Pagazvam states that although Lord K is the reservoir of unlimited pleasure and the greatest leader of all, he is still dependent upon his devotees in three ways. According to the emotional status of the devotee, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is appreciated in three ways: as the most perfect, as very perfect, and as perfect. Nectar of Devotion, Chapter 23. Bhagavad Gita comes from the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Ganges is said to emanate from the lotus feet of the Lord. Of course, there is no difference between the mouth and the feet of the Supreme Lord, but from an impartial study we can appreciate that Bhagavad Gita is even more important than the water of the Ganges. Bhagavad Gita, Introduction, Special natural appreciation of the descriptions of a particular pastime of Godhead indicates the constitutional position of a living entity. Adoration, servitorship, friendship, parental affection and conjugal love are the five primary relationships with Ka. The highest perfectional stage of the conjugal relationship, enriched by many sentiments, gives the maximum relishable mellow to the devotee. Chaitanya Karatam Ta, DLL 4.34.